Nobody saw this coming. Not the tournament officials. Not the tennis analysts. Not even the people who had been following her career for years. When a 21-year-old walked into a meeting room at the All England Club and sat down across from some of the most experienced figures in professional tennis, everyone assumed it would be a routine conversation. The kind of administrative back and forth that happens dozens of times before every Wimbledon. Paperwork. Logistics. Standard stuff. But then she said a number, and the room went completely still. The tournament director's pen stopped moving. He looked up, and in that moment, something shifted. Because what Alex Eala revealed in that meeting wasn't just a financial figure. It was the punctuation mark at the end of a story that had been building for years. A story about a girl from Quezon City who refused to accept the limits the world tried to place on her. Let's go back to the beginning, because to understand why that moment mattered so much, you need to understand the road that led to it. June 7th, 2026. Birmingham, England. The grass is freshly cut, the crowds are modest compared to what's coming, and Alex Eala is in the middle of a fight. She's down a set, the match is slipping, and for a brief moment it looks like the tournament might end the way so many had expected it to before it even began. But something happens. Something clicks. She stops playing not to lose and starts playing to win, and the difference is everything. She fights back, takes the second set, and then the third, defeating Nicola Bartankova 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 to claim her first career grass court title at the WTA 125 Lexus Birmingham Open. It's her second WTA 125 crown overall, and it moves her to number 33 in the world rankings. 9 wins in her last 10 matches on grass. A 9-3 record entering the most prestigious grass court tournament on the planet. Those numbers matter. But what happens next is what truly changes everything. Berlin. The WTA 500 Berlin Open. When Eala received a wild card into the draw, the expectations were polite at best. She was ranked 35th in the world. She was making her tournament debut. The field was stacked with players who had been here before, players who knew how to win on the surface, players with experience and rankings and momentum that Eala simply couldn't match on paper. On paper. That word matters. Because what Alex Eala has always been best at is making people throw their papers away. In the round of 16, she faced Donna Vekic, ranked 33rd in the world, a player riding a 5-match winning streak on grass. Eala didn't flinch. She played with patience and precision, breaking down Vekic's game methodically until the scoreline read 5-7, 6-3, 7-5 in her favor. One upset. Noted. Moving on. But then the draw revealed her next opponent, and suddenly everyone was paying attention. Elena Rybakina, the 2022 Wimbledon champion, the reigning Australian Open queen, world number 2. A player who doesn't just know how to win on grass, she owns it. She's the kind of opponent who makes seasoned professionals nervous, the kind whose serve alone is enough to dismantle a game plan before it gets started. And Eala was about to walk onto the court against her as the decided underdog. What followed was one of those matches that you remember not just for the result, but for the feeling it gives you. Eala fell behind 1-4 in the first set. For most players, that's where the story ends, where the talent gap becomes undeniable, where the moment becomes too big. But Eala kept playing. Point by point, game by game, she clawed her way back. She won 5 of the next 6 games and took the first set. Then she closed out the second, and with it, one of the biggest upsets in women's tennis in 2026. After the match, she sat in her chair and said the words that instantly went everywhere. "I'm a little foggy right now. I think I'm still shaking. I was shaking on match point." That rawness, that honesty, is exactly why people fell in love with this story. She wasn't pretending to be calm. She wasn't performing confidence she didn't feel. She was a 21-year-old who had just beaten the world number 2 and was still processing it in real time. But she wasn't done processing, because the tournament wasn't over. In the quarterfinals, Eala walked out against Elena Svitolina, ranked 8th in the world, another top 10 player, another massive test. And she passed it again, winning 6-3, 6-4 in a performance that wasn't just impressive, it was dominant. 2 top 10 victories in a single tournament. A semi-final run at a WTA 500 event. In Berlin. On grass. As a wild card making her debut. The tennis world, which had been quietly keeping an eye on her, suddenly had her name at the top of every conversation. The semi-final run earned her 195 ranking points, pushing her total to 1,557 and her ranking from 35th all the way to 30th. And here's the detail that makes the whole thing even more remarkable. Had she lost early in Berlin, she would have dropped 163 points from a result the previous year that was set to expire. She would have fallen to 35th or 36th. She would have missed the seeding cutoff for Wimbledon entirely. The margin between her making history and being just another player in the draw was that thin. One tournament. One run. Everything. And then came the news that made June 22, 2026 a date that will live in Philippine sports history forever. The WTA rankings dropped. Eala had climbed from 35 to 30. And then, when world number 9 Victoria Mboko withdrew from Wimbledon due to a knee injury, Eala moved up one more spot in the provisional draw. She became the 29th seed, the first Filipino in the entire Open era to earn a singles seed at a Grand Slam tournament. Let that sit for a second. In the entire history of professional tennis since 1968, no Filipino had ever held a seeded position in a Grand Slam singles draw. Not once. Until now. The reaction in the Philippines was not a celebration. It was an eruption. Social media didn't buzz, it exploded. Facebook feeds turned into rolling streams of pride and disbelief. Twitter and X were overtaken by hashtags. TikTok videos of fans watching the news go live racked up millions of views within hours. One of Eala's posts drew over 125,000 likes and nearly 1,700 comments in a matter of hours. Her Instagram following, already sitting at 960,000, began climbing toward 1 million almost in real time. The comments were the kind of thing that genuinely gets you. From qualifiers to seeded player, guaranteed millions. This is what hard work looks like. She's not just playing for herself anymore. She's playing for every Filipino who ever dared to dream. When Eala plays, we all get together and watch. We plan our dinners around it. That last one might seem small, but it tells you everything. This wasn't just sports news. This was a cultural moment. People who had never watched a tennis match in their lives were suddenly learning the rules. Families were rearranging their schedules. A nation of 115 million people had found a reason to care about a sport it had never previously claimed as its own. And at the center of all of it was a 21-year-old trying to stay grounded, trying to keep her focus, trying to remember that the tournament hadn't even started yet. Which brings us back to that meeting room at the All England Club. The room where Alex Eala sat down with Wimbledon officials and revealed a number that made the tournament director's pen freeze mid-sentence. £89,000. Guaranteed. Before she hit a single ball on the grass of SW19. The breakdown was this: £80,000 for her first round appearance in the singles draw alone, and an additional £9,000 from the doubles event. Combined, that's more than 7.2 million Philippine pesos, secured simply by virtue of her seeded position. For context, the total Wimbledon prize pool for 2026 had been set at a record £64.2 million, representing a 20% increase from the previous year. The numbers across the board were staggering. But for Eala, what mattered wasn't the headline figure. What mattered was what it represented. Because £89,000 guaranteed isn't just money. For a 21-year-old who had been grinding through qualifiers and smaller events just months earlier, it's proof. It's the tournament itself telling you that you belong here. That you've earned your place at this table. That the road you've been walking, the early mornings, the losses that stung, the moments of doubt that you pushed through, all of it was worth it. The tournament director sat across from her, visibly taken aback. He asked if she had any concerns about the financial side of things, the practical matters, the logistics of preparing for a campaign at this level. And Eala's answer, by all accounts, stopped everyone in the room. She told him she wasn't worried about the money. She was worried about something far heavier. The weight of what she was about to carry onto that court. She was the first Filipina in history to be seeded in a Grand Slam singles tournament. She was representing a country that had never had this moment before. She was walking into Wimbledon not just as a player but as a symbol, and she knew it, and she felt it, and she was being honest about what that meant. The director, a man who has spent years in rooms with some of the greatest players to ever hold a racket, sat back in his chair. And by every account of that meeting, he was genuinely speechless. Not because of the money. Because of her. Because of what she represented and how clearly she understood the weight of it. When the meeting ended, people left that room with a feeling that doesn't come along often in professional sports. The sense that you are watching something that will be talked about for decades. Not just a talented player. Not just a good story. A movement. Let's talk about what that word means in the context of Alex Eala, because it gets thrown around a lot in sports and usually it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. But here it does. Her pre-tournament press conference at the Australian Open earlier this year drew approximately 171,000 online viewers. For comparison, Carlos Alcaraz drew around 29,000. Aryna Sabalenka drew about 9,000. A 21-year-old from the Philippines was generating more online interest than the men's world number 1 and the reigning women's world number 1 combined. Former American star John Isner, someone who has played in and around Grand Slams for his entire career, said it plainly. He called her someone to look out for at Wimbledon and acknowledged that the news of her success would be huge given the size of her following. But it's the following itself that deserves a closer look, because it's not a following in the traditional sense. It's not passive. It's not fans scrolling through highlights and double-tapping posts. It's 25,000 people booking tickets to travel to London to watch her play. It's queues stretching hundreds of yards outside the grounds. It's Philippine flags filling sections of the stands that have never seen them before. It's a diaspora finding each other through shared pride in someone who looks like them, sounds like them, comes from where they come from. Some commentators have drawn comparisons to Manny Pacquiao, and while the sports are different, the emotional truth underneath the comparison is the same. The feeling of a nation recognizing itself in a champion. The feeling of seeing something you were told you couldn't have, and then watching someone from your country reach out and take it anyway. The comparisons to Pacquiao aren't about tennis versus boxing. They're about what it means to be Filipino and to watch one of your own stand at the very top of a global stage. And right now, Alex Eala is standing there. WTA records show her at a 27-16 record for the season heading into Wimbledon, with $852,858 in prize money earned this year. She had reached a career-high singles ranking of number 29. Her grass court record was 9-3. She had beaten 2 top 10 players in the same tournament weeks before the biggest tournament of her life. The trajectory is not gradual. It's steep and it's accelerating, and the people who follow tennis closely have started to speak about her differently than they did even 6 months ago. There's a question that's starting to circulate quietly in the commentary boxes and the press areas and the corners of the tour where these conversations happen, and it's this. Not whether Eala can compete at Wimbledon, because she clearly can, but how far can she go? And the honest answer, the one that nobody wants to say too loudly because of what it might mean if she doesn't get there, is that nobody actually knows. She's 21. She's in form. She's beaten Rybakina on grass. She's beaten Svitolina on grass. She has a nation of 115 million people pouring energy into every match she plays. And if you think that doesn't matter, if you think that kind of support doesn't translate into something real on a tennis court when the pressure is at its highest, then you've never watched a Filipino crowd get behind one of their own. There's a detail about this story that hasn't been talked about enough, and it's this. The path to this moment was not inevitable. It was not a straight line. It was a series of moments where things could have gone differently, where a loss here or a withdrawal there would have changed the math entirely, and Eala would have walked into Wimbledon as an unseeded player, respected but unprotected, without the financial guarantees and without the historic distinction. She needed the Birmingham title. She got it. She needed the Berlin run. She delivered it. She needed Mboko's withdrawal to move one place higher in the provisional seedings. It happened. And she needed to hold her ranking long enough for the official draw to confirm what the provisional draw had suggested. Every piece fell into place. Not by accident. By preparation meeting opportunity at the exact right moment. But the result, however it arrived, is permanent. History doesn't change based on the circumstances that created it. Alex Eala is the first Filipino in the Open era to be seeded at a Grand Slam singles tournament. That sentence is now true, and it will always be true, and nothing that happens from here changes it. What can change, what Eala herself is focused on, is what comes next. Because a seed isn't the destination. It's a starting position. It's the tournament saying, you've earned the right to be here without having to fight through the toughest possible draw from day one. What she does with that protection, how deep she goes, how she handles the nerves and the noise and the expectation of a nation watching, that's the part nobody knows yet. That's the part that gets written in the coming days. And here is what I keep coming back to when I think about this story. When the Wimbledon tournament director sat across from Alex Eala and asked if she had concerns about the financial side of her campaign, he was asking a reasonable, professional question. He expected a reasonable, professional answer. What he got instead was a 21-year-old who looked him in the eye and told him the money wasn't what was on her mind. What was on her mind was the responsibility, the history, the 25,000 fans who had already flown to London to watch her, the 115 million people at home who would be staying up through the night to follow every point, the little girls in Quezon City and Cebu and Davao who were going to watch her walk onto that court and see for the first time that someone who looks like them can do this. That's not a rehearsed answer. That's not a PR line. That's someone who has thought deeply about what this moment means and who refuses to let the weight of it crush her and instead has decided to carry it as fuel. The tournament director was speechless because he recognized something rare. He wasn't just looking at a talented tennis player preparing for a Grand Slam. He was looking at someone who understood the full dimension of what they were doing. Someone who grasped not just the sporting achievement but the cultural gravity of it. And that combination, talent plus awareness plus the willingness to carry something bigger than yourself onto the court, is what makes people remember you long after the match results have faded from the record books. So here we are. Alex Eala, 21 years old, world number 29, the first seeded Filipino in Grand Slam history, sitting on £89,000 guaranteed and the weight of a nation's hope, preparing to walk onto the grass at Wimbledon and do what she has spent her entire life working toward. The meeting room at the All England Club will never quite be the same after that conversation. And if things go the way her trajectory suggests they might, neither will the history of Philippine sport.